here's a simple little, I mean, I hate to use the word hack, but here's a simple one that people overlook when they've got, I'm going to use LinkedIn because that's what I use, but whether it's Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is that you're using as your main source, look at the people who are following you. You have built something and you've put it out there into the ether, into the social media ether, and those people have come to you for a reason. Okay, so chances are your ideal client is hiding in and amongst those people because you've literally built a community by having your profile on whatever social media you're on. So that's the good, as long as your messaging is clear, right? If your LinkedIn profile page is confusing, it's full of here's my resume of how awesome I am and no substance to it, then they're not going to come to you. But if it's clear and your messaging is clear, your positioning, who you speak to is clear, those are the right people coming to you already. So they've done a little bit of the heavy lifting for you.
Welcome to Expert Voices with Jeff Evans, the podcast where we dive deep with industry leaders who've built their expertise through real-world experience and are ready to share the insights that matter most. I'm your host, Jeff Evans, and today we're joined by a powerhouse entrepreneur who turned decades of business building into a crystal clear coaching methodology. Our guest today is Anna Ludwinowski, a 4-time business founder. She's got over 32 years of entrepreneurial experience who's made it her mission to help service providers cut through the noise and achieve what she calls business clarity, all capitalized. As a business clarity coach, positioning strategist, Anna has a unique perspective. She actually walks the walk, having built and scaled multiple businesses herself, including co-owning Essential Packaging Inc. for nearly 3 decades. What makes Anna truly different from other business coaches is her signature no-fluff approach, her focus on fixing what's often the real problem, not your offer, but your positioning. She's based in Vancouver, Canada, and when she's not helping entrepreneurs transform their messaging and pricing strategy, you'll find her in the garden or on the boat fishing. And yes, she's also a mom to 1 son, 2 dogs, and 8 chickens. Today, we're gonna go through some of the most common clarity gaps that keep business service providers stuck, why starting low and raising later pricing strategies often backfire, and how to reframe your messaging to speak ROI rather than just features. We're also going to dive into the Clarity Catalyst framework and learn how to identify your ideal clients without the overwhelm. This is going to be an action-packed episode. So whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur looking to refine your positioning or as a service provider ready to break through to your next level of growth, this conversation is packed with actionable insights that you're going to be able to implement immediately. Let's dive in with Anna on Expert Voices. Anna, welcome to the show.
Well, that's an intro. I'm going to hire you to do my PR from now on.
Sold. Sounds great.
Thank you. This is awesome.
I'll send you the invoice later.
Done.
Anna, I want you to.
I love it.
It's kind of an odd question, but I want you to take us through what an average Monday looks like for you, from chickens to coaching calls.
Oh man, I love Mondays. I know that sounds super weird, but I love Mondays. It's the start of a fresh new week. And I do a lot of like the planning and thinking and strategizing for the week on Mondays. So, okay. So the weird thing is I actually start super early because being on the West Coast, it's not forgiving for all you East Coasters that I usually work with. So I get started at 4:30 in the morning, which thankfully is almost light out now. So yeah, come winter, it's going to suck a lot, but that's okay. Yeah, I get started with LinkedIn. I do LinkedIn for the first couple hours every morning. And that's like my go-to. That's where I kind of get a pulse on how everybody's doing, whether it's, friends or, clients, prospects, whatever it is. And then the puppies and I go outside for a bit, let the chickens out. I can't believe I'm sharing.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
It's, you know what? It's a grounding moment, and I know that sounds a little woo-woo, but it really is, because it's like, 2 hours of LinkedIn's kind of like a lot. It feels like a whole day, quite frankly. And be able to go outside, just kind of clear your head, just kind of commune with nature for a few minutes, kind of clears you up and gets you ready for the rest of the day. Let's see what else. Oh, Mondays are usually client days as well. So in between client calls in the mornings, I work on my stuff. So I don't do any networking. I don't do anything else, just client work and my own work. And it really honestly sets me up for the whole week. I love it.
That's awesome. So, hey,
Yeah.
I got to stop you already, but I do love to talk tactics because I want to make
Okay.
sure we're providing as much value as humanly possible to the people that are going to be listening, watching. So you mentioned 2 hours of LinkedIn. So I'm trying to up my LinkedIn game as well. I mean, it seems like everybody in SCN is just like, these LinkedIn, masters. So what do you really spend your time doing, like on a tactical
Yeah.
level? Like, do you have like an SOP like that you go through, or how do you work the system?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I mean, you can't be on there for any length of time without being strategic about it because it's going to be a waste of time, quite honestly. And okay, like I didn't come to LinkedIn knowing how to use LinkedIn, right? So I mean, naturally, there was at least a good 6 months of learning. But the lucky thing I did is I stumbled upon some really good people that sort of set me on that path that said, "Hey, these are some good strategic ways of using LinkedIn." And so I would say a good 6 months of like lurking and kind of struggling to figure out what this looked like for me. It really came to a head because of who I was learning from. So if you can find a couple of people that you really align with, that you can sort of learn by osmosis from them, then I think that really helps a lot. Um, yes, there's definitely different lists of people that I connect with. There's got to be, the friends, your LinkedIn buddies that you kind of support each other. But there's also clients. I definitely support them, and as well as prospects. And I think that's the big one that a lot of people forget. We get all excited supporting the people we know, but we don't look at how to reach out and do some warm outreach, I'll call it, to start bringing in those prospects and filling it into your pipeline. So that's when I do consciously. Could I do more of it each day? Probably, but at least I try to do it every day. So yeah, it's a really important piece for sure.
You're very active there, so you're obviously doing a really good job. Now, I asked you about Monday. Do you do LinkedIn every day of the week?
Yeah, every day. Now I used to post 7 days a
Mhm.
week. And I wouldn't say I burned out of it because I have a strategy and I do follow it, and it's a strategy that works for me. But I decided to take Saturdays off because I start so early every day. I sleep in Saturdays. As I figure out, okay, I've earned one day to sleep in. So I post 6 days. I come back to it on Sundays,
Okay, well that's great.
and I might post on Saturdays, but I'm always there. It's just not at the ideal time.
Okay. So when you said you
Yeah,
sleep in until what, like 6? I mean, what's your
yeah,
what is it? Is it 6?
literally six.
Unbelievable, and I figured.
I mean, maybe six
Yeah.
15. I don't know. Like it's kind of hard to sleep in.
See, well, that's right, because you have chickens you got to take care of.
And
Hmm. Uh,
yeah, and puppies don't care what your sleeping goals are. They gotta go out.
that's
So
true. That's true. All right, so let's get into
yeah.
clarity because I know it's a huge part of what you teach and what you believe in and what you do. So, kind of walk me through your clarity first methodology, like why foundation before everything else.
Um, it's really
Mhm.
simple. Now I'm not gonna say it's easy, but it's simple. To me, the foundation, clarity is the foundation. It's the basement of the house that you're building, right? It's the thing that everything else sits on. And it's an easy piece to kind of skim over. It's not sexy. It's kind of boring, to be
Yeah.
frank. And so people get excited and they go, "Oh, I want to get to the fun stuff, the marketing and the offers and the cool things like that." But without clarity, all that other stuff is just harder to do. If you don't know who your ideal client is and where you're positioning yourself, how on earth are you going to make an offer that's going to connect with
Mm.
them? Like it's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So you have to start with clarity as the foundation. And from there, it all builds on top of it.
Okay. So can you kind of walk me through what that looks like?
For sure. Um, First of all, we have to start with who. Who are you serving? I mean, it's a pretty basic question, but you'd be surprised how many people come back with the answer. Oh, I can help everyone.
Oh, I've heard it before. You
Right?
bet.
You've heard that one
Oh,
before?
yeah.
It's not original.
Uh-huh.
And while that could be true, that's not going to work really well for you. So we really have to dial down into who you serve. The next one is, how are you going to do that? What is your methodology? What is the experience that you bring that's going to help that ideal client? And then finally, why? Why does it matter? What are you even bringing to the table here? Why are they going to come to you? Right? Those are kind of the three main key pillars that create that clarity that lets you stem from there.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what are 3 red flags that show your messaging just isn't really working?
Oh my gosh. No leads. I mean, I'm not to be facetious, but if you're not getting leads, something's not jiving, right? Or you're getting leads, but there's the wrong one. So there's some sort of a misalignment there. So that might mean that the client is thinking that you're the right answer, but you're not. So there's some sort of a misalignment. When you have to give a TED Talk explanation every single time that you get onto a sales call with somebody, that's a problem, because your messaging should do all that heavy lifting for you before you even get onto that call.
Yeah.
The other thing would be pricing. So, you're either undercharging or you're overcharging. There's some sort of a misalignment there. That's another pretty clear red flag for sure. If you're trying to position yourself as a premium offer and a premium expert, but you're getting a bunch of tire kickers, again, there's some sort of a misalignment there.
So yeah, you mentioned that it's much harder to start low in your pricing and then raise it. Is that correct?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm anti starting low. And I get it. I understand, because, there's this common sort of, and I'm going to call it a misconception, that, okay, well, you got to start off low because you don't have the experience yet. And so you're trying to, gain some traction, get some experience, get a few clients under your belt.
Right.
And that's where I'm going to disagree. If you're coming in without the experience, then why are you doing this? Right? I mean, you
Okay.
have some kind of experience. Otherwise, why are you going into this business? That already would be a bit of a misalignment, right?
Yeah.
So I came into coaching, but I had 32 years of business experience, entrepreneurial experience, running businesses, helping other businesses. So I already have that experience. That's what you're paying me for. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you definitely can't start low, because how does that work? If you started low and now you've got a bunch of clients who are, used to this price point, but then you go, hey, wait a second, I've got a bunch of you now. I'm going to start raising my prices. How are those clients going to react?
Yeah, sometimes
Are they
not
going
so
to be
good.
like, yeah, no, totally, double your prices, right?
Yeah.
No one is going to say that.
No. No.
So it's really hard to start moving those clients up. And if you're starting low, that's a very different position than if you were starting high. Those are 2 different kinds of client bases, right? So which one are you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that takes us to positioning, right?
Yes, it does. So let's talk about some positioning. So there are some serious positioning mistakes that service providers make, and I'm sure you've seen them over and over again. Can you give me some of the top biggest positioning mistakes you've seen?
Okay, yeah, back to that one, trying to be everything for everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, I can help everyone. No, you can't. Your expertise is for a specific segment of everyone. Pick a lane, stay with your lane. Even leading with credentials. Oh my gosh. Well, you should hire me because I have a PhD in this and an MBA in that. Okay, well, that's fine, but what does that do for me? Right? Like, so that's a positioning mistake. You're leading with your credentials, which aren't necessarily beneficial.
Yeah.
Okay, then there's things like generic language. I help entrepreneurs. That's awesome. But what do you do? Right? A lot of us help entrepreneurs, but we all do it in different ways and in different capacities, right?
How funny.
So you got to be specific. And I know whenever I say that to someone and they go, oh, but I don't want to leave anybody out. Well, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? If you're specific, that means you are leaving people out, the ones that aren't lined up for you.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
I was going to say, I was told by a very smart individual back in the day that if you can't repel, you can't sell. So basically,
isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Now he's from the we'll call it the political side of things. So obviously that's a different animal in and of itself. But again, it's positioning in a niche, and becoming more of an industry expert.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. You have to pick your lane because that's the only way that you're going to attract the right people. And when I say the right people, I mean the right people for you, right? So this is where, I have this example. I was going to bring this up later on, but I'm going to throw it out here now. One of my favorite positioning examples is my Walmart versus Chanel example. I just did a post on this and I've done a couple presentations on it because it really speaks to positioning. On one side, you've got Walmart, clearly positioned. They know exactly who their target audience is. And on the other end, you've got Chanel, the designer brand. They clearly know who their target market is. And never the two shall meet. You don't have Walmart suddenly having a Chanel pop up in their store going, well, I'm pretty sure our Chanel shoppers or our Walmart shoppers are really going to dig this new Chanel display.
Right.
Wow, that would never happen. Right? And you're never going to go into Chanel and see toothpaste and shampoo displays because that's not who that person is. So they're both good. They're both awesome at what they do, but they both stay in their own lane. Mm-hmm. And that's positioning.
Yep. And it's huge. I think another positioning factor that I've certainly seen a lot of folks get wrong is features over benefits. See that all of the time. And one of my personal favorites, which I see in the home service industry, which is we've been in business for 20 years or we've been in business for 30 years. And it's like, well, you can be doing really bad business for 30 years. Like, the time that you've been doing it doesn't necessarily equate to a great company,
Exactly. And that is a really good one. That's back to leading with features, right? They're important. I mean, I am proud of the fact that I've been in business for 32 years. That does speak to my longevity. But, right, it's the transformation. It's where I'm going to take you through my experience to get you to where you want to be. That's really what it should be about. That's positioning.
And that's it. It's where do you want to be, right? So, so many times we get stuck in the services that we provide, right? So, I do Facebook ads and I create websites for clients or something like that. But in reality, it's based on the actual end goal. What is that end goal? Yeah. I heard I was reading in a book, Dean Graziosi's book. It's called Millionaire Success Secrets or something to that effect. And he goes into this whole thing about the 7 layers, which we've all heard before, the 7-layer questions. Mm-hmm. And so you really want to get down into why someone is doing what they're actually doing. It takes 7 times. And he's like, I don't know why, but it's 7 times. It works every time. And I actually trained a Chat GPT bot to do it for me. And it worked really well for me. It really did. It did. It was
that's awesome.
It was absolutely scary. But again, I mean, like we need to be doing that with our with our ideal clients, our ideal customers, our ICPs, and really kind of digging down into what is it that they actually want. Because, leads is not what a client wants. Business is what a client wants. Well, why? Why does that client want that business, And it doesn't have to be like to take and put my kids through private school. Like, you're not going to put that on your headline, but, having that type of information is key. Don't you think?
I absolutely agree. I actually talked a little bit about that in my post this morning, because you hear a lot of gurus saying, "Well, you got to scale, you got to scale, you got to scale," and I disagree with that 100%. Scaling could be the right thing for some people. I have a client who is thrilled to have one client per month. That's all she wants, because she wanted to build a business that gave her enough free time, for a variety of reasons. And she didn't want to ever get so bogged down by her work that she couldn't have this other part of her life, which is very critical. So again, that's what she wants. Now, I could have came in and said, "Oh, well, you need to scale, you need to grow, you need to do this, you need to do that." That's not what she wants.
Mm.
She wants a consistent pipeline, one client per month. And that's what she wants. That's what's going to make her happy. And so I think that's really important. We can't have a blanket approach for everybody, because everybody is different. I mean, obviously we have to have some framework and some, strategy behind all that. But knowing what your ideal client wants, that's huge.
Boy, is it.
That's gold, really.
So let's get into that.
Yeah.
So what are some ways that we can help find what our ideal client wants?
Oh, that's a good question. I think you have to get clear. I'm not even sure where to start on this one. That like all these thoughts in my head.
Good.
You have to get clear on who you want to serve. I mean, that has to be the first step. And I like to ask a question like, who lights you up when you talk with them? And this is great if you've had past clients and you go, "Oh yeah, there's this one type of client that, oh man, I just love talking with them," or, stuff like that. I'd love to have more of those. That makes it a little bit easier, because now you've got sort of a point of reference, right? But if you're new to this business and you don't have any clients yet, or you've had very few, what kind of conversations light you up? That's an important question to ask yourself. If you're coming to do your job every day and this is not lighting you up, then why are you here? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
That's really important. And that's a question we don't often ask ourselves. So I would say that's the best place to start, for sure.
I love that. Absolutely love that, man. That's such a good answer.
Is it, well, because we don't ask ourselves that. We go, "Oh, I want clients that pay me." Well, yeah, I think we all want that, but who are those people, right?
I've had clients that pay me that are absolutely horrible to work with. They're no longer clients.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because if you keep taking those types of clients on, how's that going to make you feel? Do you really want to show up here every day doing that? I don't.
It's absolutely
I don't think
miserable.
Any of us do.
And I know from personal experience, yes, it's absolutely miserable. You do not want to do that. So spend the time, do what Anna is telling you to do, and actually think about what lights you up, what kind of conversations light you up. When you said that, I have several clients in my head that light me up. So I know for a fact that's the type of client I want to work with. I don't know how many of them are out there, but we'll certainly find them.
Yeah, and but now knowing that, okay, so picture one of those people, right? Knowing that that's the kind of person you like. Now we start dissecting that. What do they do? Where do they hang out? What is their, preferred method of social media or conversation, or, blah, blah, blah. And you go through a whole list of questions, because they are out there. But if you don't know who that person is, that is literally the needle in the haystack. How on earth are you going to find them? Right? That's pretty hard.
It can be. Just right out, literally thinking about this as you're talking about it, like, All right. I know a new Facebook group that
Yeah.
I'll be forming today for sure. Again,
Aha.
because that's how we find them. If the community isn't necessarily there, then we have to help build that
Yeah.
community to bring them together.
Yeah.
I mean, it takes work, but I think it would be
Absolutely.
it'd be much easier to do that than some of the other tactics that are
Yeah.
available.
Now, here's a simple little, I hate to use the word hack, but here's a simple one that people overlook when they've got, I'm going to use LinkedIn because that's what I use, but whether it's Facebook or Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is that you're using as your main source, look at the people who are following you. You have built something and you've put it out there into the ether, into the social media ether. And those people have come to you for a reason. Okay. So chances are your ideal client is hiding in and amongst those people because you've literally built a community by having your profile on whatever social media you're on. So that's a good, as long as your messaging is clear, right? If your LinkedIn profile page is confusing, it's full of here's my resume of how awesome I am and no substance to it, then they're not going to come to you. But if it's clear and your messaging is clear, your positioning, who you speak to is clear, those are the right people coming to you already. So they've done a little bit of the heavy lifting for you.
Oz, that's awesome. All right, so straight up, that's the intro to the whole episode right there.
That's the one.
That's the one. That's what I've been waiting for. There it is. There it is. And none of this gets cut.
Gem.
That's the gem. None of this gets cut. This is how we make the magic, people. Okay, this is how this is how it's done. You wait for that moment and you go, boom, there it is. Boom. All right, good. Well, good. We can move on from that then. All right. So let's talk about ideal clients and differentiate.
Got more.
We got so much more. I'm so excited to talk to you. It does. Thank you. I read all your stuff. As much as I can. Yeah. I mean, I do. I read a ton of your stuff. I really do. And you're always all over my LinkedIn. Always. You do such a great job with it. And now I know why, because you spend 2 hours every morning before, most people are even awake doing the hard work. Which has got to, you're eating the frog, right? That's what you got to do. So,
got to do it. Yeah.
All right. So we kind of touched on how to get clear on your ideal client. And you can't have more than one. But there's something that you call the 5% differentiation. You say it.
I know, right? Differentiators.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Differentiators.
Yes.
That's a word.
It's a word.
It's a tongue-tied word.
It is a important word because rule is after it. So it's a very important word. So how do we stand out without shouting, I believe is what you're talking about here.
Oh, yeah. I love this one. And can I just quickly throw in a nugget there? You can have more than one ideal client. That is another guru myth that we're busting here today, because if I see one more guru telling you that you can only have one, I'm going to scream. Yeah. Now, there's nothing wrong with having one. And for some people, you only need one. That's totally cool. But you can have more than one. What messes people up is they put a blanket message for everybody. No. If you have more than one, each one needs its own direct messaging. So you're super, super clear. Right? So just wanted to share that because that's really important.
Okay. Now, and that, okay. So wait, before we go, I want to touch on this one. Okay. So from a digital perspective, so let's talk about from a website perspective. Okay. How would you get people to find themselves to where they need to be so that they get that specific messaging? Now, do you just have industries I serve, or are you looking at strategic customer pathways, which is what I do for a lot of clients myself? How do you get them into where that messaging is for them?
Yeah. Personally, and this is so do as I say, not as I do. I haven't done this yet, full disclosure. But if you do serve more than one ideal client that way, so say you have two, for example, a really, really good thing that I like to do with a lot of my clients who are in similar boat is to have some sort of on your a landing page or some sort of a dedicated section, like on your homepage, that actually takes clients through a questionnaire.
Ooh.
You are literally asking them questions. Like it's like this, right? As if we were sitting across from each other and I'm like, by the way, Jeff, blah, 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 and asking you a bunch of questions. Then based on those answers, you can move people into 2 different sections, right? Or 3 or 1 or whatever it is. But then at least you know that they're in the right place and they're getting the right messaging. So I think that if I could pick one ideal way, I think that would be like the best, honestly.
I love it. There was a woman on our SCN call yesterday who said she is building an AI bot to be the questionnaire. And so that will be how she
chatbot. Oh, perfect.
And we see them.
That would be ideal. Yeah.
It can be.
Yeah, they're starting to come around.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Absolutely. That's a whole other episode. We'll do
I know, right?
Whole other
oh
episode.
My God. Can we nerd out on that one day? Because I'm like so into this AI. Because I think there's so much misinformation out there about for like solopreneurs, what you have to have or should have or must, like there's just a lot of noise. And I think there's so many people getting frustrated by that. Do you see that as well?
I do. So what the issue I think that people are having is that some people are using ChatGPT as just a way to write basic content. They're not prompting it correctly. They're not creating content based off of an original idea. So, and that's a huge thing.
Exactly.
Being able to do that. But also they just don't understand the capabilities of the software or of the AI, right? So for instance, like I use it for coaching, some of my coaching stuff. Now, not business coaching and things like that, because there's specific things you can't do. But when it comes down to like mental and mindset and things like that, I'm able to have discussions with it, and it knows me enough from all of the content I've given it about myself that it's been really helpful. I also use use Perplexity, which is a different LLM,
Oh, that's a good
wrapper.
One too. Yeah.
And it's got some new stuff in there that, again, super nerd out on some of the new stuff, the lab stuff. Holy smokes, it's so good. $20 a month, and you get this. You get this stuff that should be worth millions of dollars, and it's for $20 a month.
Yeah.
But I use that one.
It's pretty good
as my research assistant. So I research everyone.
Yeah.
I can plug in, your LinkedIn link or Ashley's link, and it'll pull out all of this really valuable information that I would have to take hours upon hours to be able to go and search for. It pulls it out into a nice, easily read structure so that I can have a great and honest conversation with you and know that I'm able to speak with what you actually care about. And then we're able to build more rapport that way, right? So I use it for that. And then I use it as an assistant. I mean, just as a generalized assistant. It's so valuable currently. Now, can it get out of hand? Sure. I mean, we've all seen, the Terminator movie or some other end times thing, when it comes down to AI taking control and yada, yada. Skynet. Yeah. Skynet. Which now I got to go back and watch the Terminator movies. But anyways, so,
I know, right?
But for now, it's so valuable. And Ashley mentioned this in our call, which I thought was fascinating too. She goes, I talk to a lot of business owners and they're younger and they're still not using it to where its capabilities. They don't understand it yet. So while you and I are starting to really build things with it and understand it, the generalized population of entrepreneurs and business owners still don't understand it. And it's just fascinating. There's so much, it's so new,
I totally agree. And but I actually think that's part of the problem is because it is so new and people are overwhelmed by it. I did a poll last week and it was more people were excited, empowered, that one than they were overwhelmed. But those that were overwhelmed were like, look, I can barely keep up with my daily business activity. How on earth am I now supposed to become this like computer programmer guru guy, to learn all this other stuff? There's only so many hours in a day. And I think, I get that. But that's where I think you need to really look at what do you need in your business, right? Do we all need to be creating AI agents? No. Like, no, you don't. But can you use ChatGPT or Perplexity to do research that would save you time. Like maybe doing that research for you saved you half an hour. Okay. What could you be doing in half an hour to grow your business?
Yeah.
Right? You could be doing outreach. You could be connecting with leads, whatever it is that would be more valuable.
Yep.
So that there's a place for it.
I
You just gotta figure it out.
You have to. My favorite thing to tell people is ask AI what to do. Literally. So if you're a plumber, hey, I'm a plumber in Alpharetta,
Well,
Georgia,
that's cool.
and I own this
Mhm.
company, and I'm struggling with X, Y, and Z. What type of prompts should I use to get you to help me? And then the software that AI
That's
will
a
go
great prompt.
yeah, and then it'll go give you the prompts. So that's the hidden thing there is
That's
people
awesome.
think they need to
Yeah.
talk to people and find the prompts and this, that, the other. No, just ask
Yeah.
AI to create the prompt for you. Just give it a little bit of background. It's all good. I love it. Anyways,
Yeah.
Russ.
I know. Okay. That's like another call. We got to do that one another time.
That is definitely one. That is definitely one. All right. So I want you to explain to me the 5% differentiator rule, how to stand out without shouting, because none of us want to be sleazy salespeople, but we all want business. So how do we do it?
Yeah. So this is kind of okay, I'm going to give you like the Coles Notes version. So when I started like 32 years ago, you had to be profesh, right? You had to look button down corporate. Nobody was going to be working with a small business, right? Nobody had, the small business just wasn't even on the radar in this kind of capacity like it is now. So as a result, I tried to do that professional route, and it was fine because that's what was the style. But now that's not what people want. People want sincere, they want honest, they want real, and they want relatable. They want to know that I walked the walk, I've made the mistakes, I've screwed up just like they have, and now I've learned, and this is how I can help you. So there's that piece of it. The other piece is, as my good friend Jenny calls it, she goes, "What's your weird? What are those unique things that only I have, that I now kind of flavor my content with," right? So I love to share that I'm a gardener. There's been tons of life lessons that I've learned just from gardening. I obviously talk about my chickens a lot. I know not everybody is into the chickens, and that's totally fine. But you'd be surprised how many people DM me and like, "Hey, how are the chickens doing this week?" I'm like, "Really? What? Okay, if that's what it takes to remind you of me, then let's do it." Right? Whatever it is, it's sharing those pieces of you that kind of show people that you're a real human being. You're not perfect, and
Authentic.
that can be really hard.
Yeah.
You're so authentic, and I try not to use that word because I think the word's been like abused. Honestly, it sort of lacks meaning now because we've overused it. But that is what that means, right? It's being the real you and being okay with that. Now, having said that there is a fine line, and that's for every one of us to decide where that fine line is for each of us. There are personal things that happen in my life that I'm like, nobody needs to know that. Right? I don't know that anybody wants to know
Oh, yeah.
that.
Oh, yes.
But maybe some of those right? But maybe some of those insights are the thing that somebody in the audience hears and they go, "Hey, that's me. I've been there, or I'm there now. Maybe there's something you can help me with," right? So that's really a big chunk of it, I really think.
I love it. I love it. And I agree with you. And it's an issue with AI, of course, but AI has taken some of that authenticity, if you will, away. And so it's becoming something that's going to be a lot bigger of a key. There's some huge LinkedIn, influencers that have been discussing that recently. I can't remember the gentleman's name, maybe Darren, wears a hat backwards, very, very big on LinkedIn. I think he mentioned
Yep.
it.
Or
And
Jeremy
yep.
Key. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. He's Jeremy McKee. And,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he's right.
Yeah.
So, but of course we can use both together. Obviously we can. So just from a tactical
Yeah.
perspective, tell me some things that we should include maybe in like our LinkedIn bio, headlines, things like that, that kind of help, you know, humanize us so that we're not just this thing on a screen that people see, but that we're actually, there's real people with real families, you know,
Absolutely.
real lives
Yeah.
and hearts and brains behind all of
Yeah.
that.
Absolutely. And I think, but if I can just give you a really good example, our esteemed leader of SCN, Donnie Boyven,
Yep.
um, he Bovine, sorry, I think I said that. Donnie Bovine, he embodies that 110%, right? He is the goat dad, you know, and he puts that on there. He wears jeans, t-shirt, and a cowboy hat to business meetings. And that's who he is.
Right.
Is he going to appeal to everyone? No, probably not. That's okay. There's no rule that says we have to appeal to everybody, right? It doesn't exist. I'm going to be the person for somebody and I'm going to be like, oh, hell no for somebody else. And that's okay.
I
That's
doubt that.
totally,
I'm sorry.
totally okay.
All right, let's just call it like it is, Anna. No, there's no way anyone's like, oh hell no for Anna. There's no way.
Okay, well, okay, maybe that was a bad example. No. But so definitely including that in there. So I put in there that I'm a mom to one son, 2 dogs, and 8 chickens. And to me, I'm like, well, that's kind of me in a nutshell. My son means everything to me,
Yeah.
you know. He took 13 years to get here and a round of IVF, and I'm okay sharing that. Do I need to go past that? No, probably not. But maybe
Right.
that's going to really connect with somebody out there who's in a similar boat. My 2 dogs who are, okay, one's under my desk and one's behind me. They're part of my life. They're my coworkers. You know, I love
Yeah.
that they kind of remind me to take them outside, to step away from a computer, right? That's really important to me.
Yeah.
8 chickens, well, they're just crazy. I don't know. They're rescue chickens. I think hopefully there's, you know, some joy in their lives that they live, but really good life with me. You know, whatever. It's fine. I love sharing those kind of things. I do videos in the chicken yard with chickens screaming behind me, and that's about as real as it possibly gets, right? So yeah, don't be afraid to include stuff like that. I know for some people, being Christ centered, you know, is really key to their lives, and so they put that in there. Obviously, that's going to connect with some people, and it's definitely not going to connect with others, and that's okay too. You know, that's the choice that we get to make, who we want to connect and align with, right? So don't be afraid to share that because you're going to attract those right people to you for sure.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, we are no longer in the industrial age, you know, where everyone goes to school, learns the same thing, goes and works in a factory or
Yeah.
something like that.
How boring would that be, right?
My grandmother did that. She's still alive. She's like 95 years old. She worked in a sewing factory her entire
Oh my
life.
gosh.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Oh,
And she's
wow.
still alive and kicking. But yeah, I mean, it's not
Yeah.
none of us could possibly do that anymore. There's no way. You know, I mean, it's hard.
No, I think
You know,
driving is so important. But you know, and maybe you can answer this too. But when I find somebody new on LinkedIn, I read that tagline and I want to know. Like, it's got to be a little snapshot of who that person is. Do you find that too?
I do. I think some people overdo it. A lot of people underdo it. And then a lot of people put their I help da 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 da, which probably is what I have currently, to be honest with you. And I need to I need to change all of that up and just be me. But sometimes you just feel the pressure of the world around you and what you see, and you're like, oh, well, if they're doing this, maybe I should do that. And I think this conversation is really bringing out that we have to stop that and just be ourselves. And I think Donnie would probably curse me out for anything else but that at this point. You know,
And that's what I love about his message, right? I mean, he very clearly shares, and I don't know if it was today's post or yesterday's post, he has
Yep.
ADHD, as do many people. And I look at that and I go, that's freaking awesome. How, even just a few years ago, we would have been so inclined to hide that kind of information, right? And yet, when you skimmed through all of his comments on that post, people are like, yes, I'm there with you. I feel the same way. Thank you for normalizing this. Everybody really responded in a positive way. And even if somebody had said something negative, which I can't imagine why, but there are people in this world, you know what? That's okay, right? Then clearly he's not the person for you. Move along and find someone who is,
It's
right?
true.
So I love that we're trying to tap into our uniqueness. I think it's important.
I do too. I mean, I think that I'd be remiss to not say I think, people like Gary Vee have certainly helped pave the way for a lot of that, at least on social.
Yeah, and it's pretty original.
And he's
Yeah,
been that way for a really long time. He's
yeah.
always
And you got to respect
You
that.
got to
You
respect
do.
that.
Yeah,
I don't agree
yeah,
with all the stuff that
yeah,
he says necessarily, but from a business perspective, I do 100%. I just don't like all the curse words, and that's
yeah,
fine. It is what it is. I'm not going to not talk to you because you do that. It's just not me necessarily.
yeah.
So, but it's funny because these people they've just decided that they're just going to be themselves, and I think if we step back and really think about it, it's kind of funny that we're all going, yeah, we should just be ourselves. It's like, well, yeah, we should have done that the whole time, but we weren't taught that way.
We should have always
You
been
know,
doing
we
that.
always should have been ourselves. That's the whole point of our unique, individuality and the thumb, our fingerprints are unique and yada
Yeah,
yada. So, anyways,
it's now.
but let's
It's not funny though that being unique is like the new shtick. It's like the trend is to be yourself, and you're like, how does this feels weird?
now that we're saying it out loud, we're breaking that fourth wall. Yeah, that definitely sounds weird, doesn't it? I mean, it's bizarre. It started with personal brands, and then people are like, "Well, what's a personal brand? It's you, dude. You.
Oh, yeah.
You are the personal brand.
You know?
All the all the sports teams you like, all the the lumps on your face. It's you. You are the personal brand, brother.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I know, isn't it funny that that's the new trend? I love
The new
that.
trend, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, that's our hot take for today here on Expert Voices. The new trend is for
there
you
go,
to
we're
be
done.
yourself.
The rest of the call's done.
Oh yeah. All right, well let's
love
pivot
it.
because I don't want to forget to talk about some of the entrepreneurial journey. So there's some things that I read about you and I looked at, but tell me about the moment that you realized you needed to pivot from being just a business owner to becoming a coach, because people shouldn't take that lightly. That's a very different
Yeah. Oh my
different thing
God.
to get into.
It is, and I'm actually super excited that you brought that up because it took me a little while to figure that one out. It's kind of it happened in a moment, but there's actually a lot of a lead up. I was actually talking with a client in my packaging company that I share with my husband, and I was basically coaching a new entrepreneur. And she was such a lovely lady. And she said, you really seem to enjoy what you do. You should become a coach. And I just kind of looked at her and I went, well, yeah, I've already got a gig going on, but thanks so much. Look, I don't have any more
Yeah.
time. But that had sort of culminated from all these other things beforehand. So to kind of back up the story a little bit, in 2018, I purchased a boutique fitness studio where I was a client. And long story short, I've never been in the fitness industry, but it was really more from a business investment point of view. It was a really good, solid business, but it needed more. And I really felt I had that skill set to bring to that. But what I hadn't anticipated was, because I would do all the onboarding for each new client, is I was actually coaching them one-on-one. So it was kind of like I was doing it, but I didn't realize I was doing it. And then to see them go through that journey with our personal trainers, again, one-on-one coaching, I kind of saw, whoa, wait a second, this little light bulb going off where taking someone who's in a really challenging position, whether it's physically, mentally, whatever the situation is, and guiding them through that is so powerful. Like that, I don't know, there's not many things that are more powerful than that. You having an actual imprint on someone else's life, that's huge. And so then when that client had said, hey, you should become a coach, I kind of went, okay, now wait a second. That's not as crazy as it sounds, because I have been doing that. Just not that official umbrella, right? But that's what lights me up, is actually being able to help somebody truly go from frustrated, spinning their wheels, beating their head against a wall, to being like, oh my God, I got this. Like, that's huge. So it's kind of selfish in a way, isn't it? Right? Like, I'm doing the thing that I really love to do. That's pretty awesome, I think.
I agree 100%. But let's be real. It's not always rainbows and unicorns, Anna, as you're fully aware of.
Oh God, no, it isn't. No, I wish it was. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, I wouldn't have bags under my eyes if it was like that. That's for sure. But they're big. They're big for a reason. So we all have our ups and downs in business. I've been on my own for 17 years. You've been on your own way longer than me. So tell me some of these. You don't have to be specific if you don't like to, but give me some sad stories, like some down stuff, some things you had to really work through, or maybe a client that you had worked with in the past that just really was just down in the dirt, and you were able to kind of fix that. Either way.
Oh my God. How much time do we have left? This could take a while. No, I'm kidding. You know what? I'm going to share, I'm going to actually share one of, okay, so I've only shared this like once before.
Okay.
Because it was hard. It was really hard. This is super hard to even talk about now, but that fitness studio that I bought in September of 2018, I closed in July of 2023. And as we all know, in 2020, this lovely thing called a pandemic came along, and it devastated me.
Boy, did it.
It absolutely, it devastated my business here in Vancouver, in most of Canada. Our government mandated us close 7 separate times. You can't run a business and charge people if you aren't open. That was really hard. We still paid our trainers because that was their livelihood. But we just didn't have the income coming in, because you can't charge your clients if they can't come in, right? And that was definitely, in all the 32 years, that was the absolute worst part I've ever experienced, because I started to doubt myself, even though this is obviously an extenuating circumstance that I have no control over. I started to doubt myself. So in July of 2023, when we closed, I spent a good 6 months depressed, to be honest. So yeah, being an entrepreneur is definitely not all rainbows and unicorns. There are those really hard times where you really start to question yourself. And if you don't have those hard times, I would be questioning that. Then something's not quite right. You need those hard times to remind you why you're doing this and that you can do this. So yeah, I've come out the other end. A couple of scars here and there, but I made it.
No doubt about that. Yeah, I think that, I will say this, if there aren't issues, then you might be the one causing the issue for someone else,
Yeah, there's a deeper question in there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, see, I'm the deep guy. Anyways. All right. So, I want to get into the rapid fire section. So we're going to do 3 questions as rapid fire as humanly possible before we leave. So number 1, what are your top 3 business tools for business clarity that every entrepreneur needs?
Okay. Now, I took this to mean not actual tools like apps or things like that, actual tools that you yourself skills. That's how I took that question. Is that
Sure.
pretty
That
accurate?
works
Okay.
for me. You're a coach. Go
You
for it.
need, okay. You need a clear value proposition. Please, please, please. After you've created your ideal client, please, you need to know what you bring to the table, because that's what you're going to be talking about. That's what's going to provide that transition or transformation for your ideal client. Okay, and actually before that, get clear on that ideal client. And honestly, like, do the thing, like write it on one of these and slap it onto your screen, paste it on your forehead, put it wherever you're going to see it all the time. You really, really, really need to be super clear on that. And offers. Okay. You don't need 1,001 offers. You don't. I highly recommend 3, especially when you're starting out, an entry level, a signature, and a higher ticket. And a higher ticket doesn't mean like a 10 grand kind of an offer. I just mean it's a higher ticket of the 3. So you don't need a lot of offers. You don't need a zillion, because the more of those you have, the more complicated it gets for your clients. Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. All right. What's one piece of
Keep it
advice you
simple.
wish someone had given you when you started? Mm-hmm.
All of the 3 that I just mentioned. No, to trust in yourself. Well, no, I'm not even joking. All 3 of those. If I'd had that years ago, that would have helped a lot. To trust your gut. I think that's a really big one. Is don't follow what's trendy. Don't necessarily follow what the gurus tell you and stuff. Follow your own gut. Absorb, listen, educate yourself, but trust in your own gut. I think that's a really good one.
I love it. And I 100% agree. All right. So the last one, where can listeners or viewers connect with you and learn more about your work and how they could work with you?
Oh, that's awesome. Well, since I live on LinkedIn, that's probably the best place to find me. I, again, post there every day. I put out a weekly newsletter, which is bite-sized nuggets that you can absorb in a very short period of time. But yeah, I would start with there. I've got a half flushed out website if you want to hit that up at annaludwinowski.com. It's a work in progress. I'll get to it.
You will.
But yeah, absolutely. Check me out on LinkedIn. All my other stuff's there. So that'd be great.
Awesome. And I know that you also are guesting a lot on other people's podcasts. So if there are other people that are listening or watching and have their own show and you want Anna's amazing personality on your show, please reach out to her, because I believe
I love that. Please do. Yeah. I love it. If I can talk about business and entrepreneurship, I'll do it all day long. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Anna, thanks so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. We'll have all of her information, obviously, in the show notes below. If anyone ever needs digital marketing help, or you want your own cool show like this, please reach out to me at jvincentcreative.com or jeffvevans.com, because I'm building a personal brand as well. So there we are. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful day. Take care.